Should the Washington Commanders stand pat or make a move at the deadline? Tonight is the Washington Commanders trade deadline preview. Come on, let's talk about it next on Washington Football Maniacs. What's up, everybody? It's your boy Brandon Scott again, and tomorrow is not only election day, it is the NFL trade deadline. So, look, we have a few holes on this team. We are 7-2, but we definitely need one or two more moves, but we are quite there. So we're going to take a look at which position groups we definitely need an upgrade and what are the best options on the trade market, and really answer the question: should the Washington Commanders stand pat and work with what we have and not use any trade assets or draft assets, or should we make a move at the deadline for a cornerback or a defensive end? So let's talk about it. All right, everybody. So the two areas that I kind of see that if the Washington Commanders do want to make a move at the deadline, it should definitely be for a cornerback or a defensive end. So we're going to take a look at three cornerbacks real quick, and then we're also going to take a look at a defensive end that I think that if they want to make a move, which one of these guys is a realistic option. So let's start with defensive end, and we're going to start with Zadarius Smith of the Cleveland Browns. Now, Zadarius Smith is a guy that could he make this defensive line better? Absolutely. And I think that if you look at all four of these options, the more realistic one is Zadarius Smith, man, because if you look at his contract situation, it's 2 years, 23 million. So you're not breaking a bank to add a guy who can definitely make the defensive line better. I mean, there's a lot going on the defensive line. Dorrance Armstrong has played well. Now you're looking at it in the middle of the line. Jonathan Allen's out for the year. Deron Payne has had his moments, but hasn't been a consistent source. And then, looking at Fedarian Mathis, he's had his injury concerns, which he has injury concerns year in and year out. But then Johnny Newton has played well. So we could definitely use a guy opposite Dorrance Armstrong. And I think that guy could definitely be Zadarius Smith of the Cleveland Browns. And I think you really wouldn't have to give up too much to get him. Now the biggest thing with looking at all four of these guys, right, is what? Giving up draft assets, giving up draft picks, right? And you look at the fact that general manager Adam Peters is not going to be willing to give up any draft picks. So, looking at most of these moves, especially, you're looking at the next couple of gentlemen, man, I just, I do not see, a lot of these guys as an option outside of Zadarius Smith, in my opinion, because again, if you look at his contract situation, 2 years, 23 million. So you're not going to bring the bank. And you look at Cleveland, they're in sell mode. Their quarterbacks, their franchise quarterback is gone for the year, and they're sinking fast, man. And it's really sad to be a Cleveland Browns fan. And I think we know, us Commanders fans, man, dating back to the Redskins and the football team, we kind of know where the Cleveland Browns are. It's a really bad situation they're in, man. But I could definitely see them in sell mode, and I could definitely see them not only willing to give up Zadarius Smith, but could be Newsome at cornerback. Could be another guy. And that's going to be the first guy we're going to talk about is Newsome, man. So because, if you look at Newsome at cornerback, I think he could definitely make this team better. So we're going to pull up his contract real quick. But Newsome at corner, because I'm picking up the depth chart. Like I said, Davis would be a solid addition, or not Davis Smith, Zadarius Smith, but he would be a really solid addition opposite Dorrance Armstrong. But Greg Newsome II is a guy that I think that they should definitely take a look at in the trade market because, look, we know that, again, general manager Adam Peters is not going to give up any draft picks. But could he be willing to maybe make a move that pushes him over the top? Because to me, all roads go through Detroit in the NFC. But the Washington Commanders are 7-2. And yes, we need a corner. Yes, we probably need another pass rusher on the other side of the D line, man. And those could be, if you look at 7-2 and you look at the strength of schedule, this is a playoff team. So if he may be willing to make that one significant move. And like I said, if you look at it, Greg Newsome, he's a guy who's young and he can play. And I think you may have to take a look at, could he be that one piece that pushes over the top? So let's take a look at his contract real quick. All right, so he's got a 4-year, $12.7 million contract. So very affordable. Now, he's young, and he's definitely a future piece in Cleveland. So, number one, would they be willing to give him up? And number two, what kind of package would it take to acquire him? And with his age and the fact that his contract is so affordable, I think that it could be tough to get him because the Cleveland Browns are looking to rebuild. You know, their quarterback's out for the year, and it just is not looking good in Cleveland. And but you have to have solid pieces to build on. And yes, I think that Greg Newsom, if I were them, I would hold on to them. I mean, he's 24 years old, and so I could the Commanders really take that big swing, go after a guy like Greg Newsom? Probably, but I don't think Greg Newsom's guy because again, I don't see the Cleveland Browns really being willing to move him. And even if they were, the asking price would be too high for a team like the Commanders because you don't want to give up too many draft picks. So I'm going to say no on Newsom, but I'm going to say, look, Zadarius Smith is a really, really good target for the Washington Commanders if they want to add another pass rusher on the other side of Dorrance Armstrong on the D line, man. So I think he's a really good option if indeed they want to upgrade the D line. A couple other cornerbacks to look at. One is best case scenario, and one is kind of worst case scenario, even though both of them could make this secondary better. Best case scenario, Marshawn Lattimore. Now, the New Orleans Saints are kind of like the Cleveland Browns. They started out really hot, 2-0. Now they're 2-7. They just lost to the Carolina Panthers. Their head coach is gone. They're a team that very well could be in rebuild mode, man. I could see them possibly entertaining trade offers for Alvin Kamara. Derek Carr, is he the future at quarterback? Could it be Spencer Rattler? A lot of questions in New Orleans. Look at, Shaheed is out for the year. Their wide receiver situation, Chris Olave is dealing with concussion protocol. So they're a team that if I were them, I would start rebuilding. I would start selling off, and Alvin Kamara would be the first guy that I would try to get some assets back in return for. But, Marshawn Lattimore is a guy who's very intriguing. Now, he could definitely be that final piece for the Washington Commanders. But then again, here's the thing. I don't think there's going to be much hesitancy to move him because, again, New Orleans is looking to get younger and they very well could be on their way towards a rebuild. But it's the contract situation. I mean, looking at Marshawn Lattimore, he over the next 5 years, he is owed $97.6 million. So are they willing to take that contract on? And I don't see this front office being willing to take on that contract, even though Marshawn Lattimore would make the secondary a lot more better. I think there's no argument with that for anybody. Marshawn Lattimore makes this defense better. And you could argue that, could that be the final piece towards we're definitely a playoff team, but is he enough? Is the addition of Marshawn Lattimore enough to get us past Detroit? We'll see. Like I said, I still think that all roads go through the Detroit Lions. But I think there are more and more, if you see the situation in NFC, Minnesota's there, but Sam Darnold has played better than expected, and this could be a situation where change scenery help. They have the right pieces around him. So, but do I think that if I had to choose between who's the bigger threat to the Washington Commanders in the NFC, it's going to be Detroit, not Minnesota. Even though Minnesota definitely is going to be a pain in the butt for the Washington Commanders. So I think we got to start really looking at what can the Commanders do in the playoffs because we're a playoff team. 7-2. I mean, me and Greg kind of covered it in the last video doing the live recap of the last game, which is the schedule's favorable. I could see this being a 13-4 team. So, like I said, if they believe they're a piece or two away, maybe you make that move. I know that they didn't want to give up any draft picks, and I agree with that assessment. You don't want to give away the future because we are still a team that is going to get better and better and better. We are playing better than a lot of people expected. But it really comes down to where does this front office, where does this coaching staff, where does this ownership group think we're at? Do they think we're a piece or two away? And if so, maybe you go out and you make a couple moves. Maybe you go get Zadarius Smith on the outside of the D line, and maybe you still you go out there and make that home run swing for Marshawn Lattimore. Now, there is a cheaper alternative. Tre'Davious Smith of the Los Angeles Rams. He's only owed $4.2 million over 1 year. So, he's a short-term option where could he make the secondary better? Yes. Could he be a piece that if he plays well, could he be a future piece? Yeah, very well could be. If he doesn't pan out, there's no long-term commitment. So, like I said, if you make a move, I don't think it's going to take a lot to get him. I think he's a cornerback that could make this team better. And you don't have to be handcuffed to him long-term like you would Marshawn Lattimore or and we talked about last couple of weeks. I talked about J.C. Horn. He's another target from the Carolina Panthers, another team. But again, Carolina. Looking at the case of all these teams, whether it's the Cleveland Browns, whether it's New Orleans Saints, and even the Carolina Panthers, you still have to have a foundation to build upon. You can't scrap everybody. And J.C. Horn, he's had injury concerns. Could he very well be shopped by the Carolina Panthers? Yes. Should the Commanders take a look at him? Yes. but it all depends on what is the package they require, and availability is your best ability, right? Can he stay healthy? Because you don't want to add a guy long term because he would be a long term commitment, and you don't want to add a guy who is hurt all the time. So you guys get in the comment section. Let me know who is the most realistic option. To me, Zadarius Smith, defensive end of the Cleveland Browns, I think is a very realistic trade target for the Commanders. And looking at cornerback, if you do not want to be handcuffed long term, Tre'Davious White is your guy. If you want to take that home run swing, Marshawn Lattimore is your guy. And then you look at other guys like Newsom and J.C. Horn from Carolina. Those are two guys where if you want to make it that move, I think that those two you stand pat. If you want a home run swing, you go Lattimore. If you want to add that corner on the cheap and you don't want to be handcuffed long term, you go after White. I think that's my move. So you could see them add Zadarius Smith and Tre'Davious White, and I think that it definitely makes the defense better, and it will definitely help the Commanders when they make that playoff push, because we're headed there, guys. 7-2, and I stand pat. You heard it here first. Me and Greg both think this is a 13-4 team. So you guys get in the comment section, let me know and let us know what you guys are thinking. Which option is the most realistic one? And do you guys agree with this being a 13-4 team? Or what record do you see the Washington Commanders having at the end of the season? So again, if you're not a member of the Washington Football Maniacs, man, we have fun over here. We a little crazy over here. We maniacs, man, but we have fun. We go live after each and every game, and in most, every piece of news coming out of the Washington Commanders land, we are one of your sources to definitely get that news out to you guys. So again, definitely appreciate you guys. Hail to the Commanders and peace. See you guys next time.